Here again with another UFC predictions video as we have UFC 287 right around the corner on Saturday, April 8th. Just going to give my predictions for the main card. Keep in mind that the card is subject to change. And before I get into my predictions, a few things. If you're a fan of the UFC and like prediction and reaction videos and want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, make sure that you Hulk smash that like button, share the video, leave me lots of comments about your predictions, future fights that you want to see, or even future fight predictions. And of course, last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special as you're watching the video anyway. And of course, remember to come back to the channel for my reaction to at least a few of these fights on this main card. And depending on how good the card is, maybe I'll react to more than a few fights. Kicking things off in the UFC Bantamweight division, we have the young phenom, as I like to call him, Raul Rojas Jr. versus Christian Rodriguez, in a fight that, honestly, I don't know a lot about either fighter. Obviously, Raul Rojas Jr. is very young, the youngest fighter that I know of, and he's got some skills. Rodriguez, I don't really know anything about. I've heard of him before, but I don't believe I've caught any of his fights. I think it should be a fun fight. I'm actually going to give the nod here to Raul Rojas Jr. because he's the young stud, and obviously he's a very marketable individual right now as he's now on the main card after being the main event of the prelims in the last fight that he was on, the December card, Ankalaev versus Blachowicz. And I want to see him continue this rise, at least for 3 or 4 more fights. So I do think he's going to get the victory, mostly likely via submission. Next up in the UFC welterweight division, I think this is going to be a fun fight. You have Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland, of course, in the last fight that I saw him in against Khamzat Chimaev, didn't look all that impressive as Khamzat just got a grip on him and really wouldn't let go, and then eventually submitted him in that clusterfuck of a pay-per-view card that happened last year in October, I believe, with the card getting shuffled around because Khamzat missed weight, and now he's going to go up to middleweight here. But I think this is a fight that potentially could be the fight of the night, as odd as that seems with this card, which has got some fun fights on it. I do think Kevin Holland can get the victory here, and I am predicting him to win. Don't sell short on Ponzinibbio, as he's a fun, exciting fighter. He's getting a little bit up there in age, but I think Holland is going to get the job done. And Holland's 30 already. Oh my lord, I didn't realize he was 30. I thought he was like 27 still, but he still looks young. But I think Holland's been working on his craft, and I think he gets the job done. And I think he's going to finish him in the first round, probably via knockout, possibly early second round. In the UFC Bantamweight division, you have Adrian Yanez versus Rob Font. Both fighters have almost identical records, with Font having 3 more victories as he's the more experienced fighter. He's 35 years old, and honestly, he's kind of, in my opinion, going out the door. Like, you thought he was going to move up the ranks, but now he's lost 2 fights in a row. His last win against Cody Garbrandt, and he didn't even look all that impressive against Garbrandt. Well, he did look impressive, but he didn't finish Garbrandt, which usually people do. And now he has to be fed really shitty fighters in his last fight to get a victory. I want to see Dominic Cruz get a victory over him if that fight actually happens. Here, I'm going off on a tangent here. I used to like Cody Garbrandt, but I just haven't been impressed with a lot of stuff he's done recently. But in this particular fight, I think Adrian Yanez is going to get the job done, as he's very good. And I just think Rob Font had his chance, and now he has 2 losses in a row. And I think the division itself is catching up with him. So I'm going to go with Yanez, who is the favorite in this fight. And then in the co-main event of the evening, in the welterweight division, you have Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal, in a fight that I am really having a hard time with. A lot of people say Masvidal is over the hill and washed up. That could be the case, but if you look at his last 3 losses, are against Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, 2 of the top 4 guys in the division. Lost to Usman twice, and then Covington once, of course. And then you have Gilbert Burns, who has lost a few. One, which is controversial, against Khamzat Chimaev. I thought Khamzat won, but I haven't rewatched that fight yet, surprisingly. it could have gone either way. Both fighters put on a show in that fight, and then of course Burns lost to Kamaru Usman in his title fight. So I don't know. You want to think Masvidal is washed up, but he could easily pull off a victory. I know Burns is a stud, but he's pretty old too. I mean, they're both in their upper 30s, 36 for Burns and 38 for Masvidal. So I'm going to pick Gilbert Burns in this fight because he's the younger fighter. I think he's well versed in striking as well as the grappling and a little bit of wrestling. And Masvidal mainly is just a striker. I wouldn't be surprised if Masvidal somehow can pull this off, and then that sets up a fight potentially against Leon Edwards, which they have a lot of beef that has been unsettled. Of course, the talk is that Colby Covington is going to get the next shot at the welterweight championship, which I don't really know who should get it. I mean, Colby really hasn't fought anybody that's a top-ranked guy. I think they should have a fight between Bilal Muhammad versus Colby Covington. I'm not upset that Colby supposedly is going to get it because obviously he's going to market the fight well, and I'm sure he'll run his mouth. Just hopefully he doesn't threaten John Anik's family anymore. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But in this fight, I am going to pick Gilbert Burns. I wanted to go with Masvidal. I really did, because I feel like the world's doubting him. He has a lot of things that could go his way, and now with Edwards being the champion and Usman essentially going to fight someone lower now, like maybe a Jeff Neal, I feel like this could be Masvidal's time to shock the world, and it wouldn't be really that big of an upset, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with Gilbert Burns because I feel like he's the more well-rounded fighter. I think Masvidal's best days are behind him, although the guys he's lost to recently, he hasn't lost to a bad fighter, at least recently. I can't remember the fight. I think he lost to Stephen Thompson before those guys. And Thompson, he either gets wrestled or he wins a striking fight, which that was a striking fight because he's not a wrestler. So anyway, and then in the main event of the evening in the UFC middleweight division, the champion, Alex Pereira, versus the challenger and former middleweight champion of the world, Israel Adesanya. This is a tough fight, too. Now, these guys have fought 4 times. Twice in kickboxing, or 3 times already, and this will be their 4th time. So twice in kickboxing and 1 MMA fight. Now, Adesanya was winning the last fight, and, of course, Pereira turned it on in the last round and got the finish and won the middleweight championship of the world. I want to pick Adesanya. I really do want to pick Adesanya in this fight. But I feel like Pereira is working on a lot of things. I think he's going to bring some new elements to the table in this encounter. And lately, Adesanya, in my opinion, hasn't looked all that impressive. I'm talking about the most recent fight with Robert Whittaker and the fight with Marvin Vettori. He didn't look that great. He tries to win via points, but he's not really that entertaining doing it. And I don't know. I just feel like Pereira is going to get the job done. I could be wrong, and Adesanya could control him and take him down if he's been working on his wrestling, and win the fight. But I'm just going to go with Alex Pereira in this particular contest. So there you have it, my predictions for the main card. Again, tune in on Saturday, April 8th to watch this card, and of course come back to the channel. I usually post my reaction to at least one fight about an hour to an hour and a half after the main card ends, unless YouTube gives me a copyright strike, which I posted my Gaethje versus Fiziev fight reaction because I thought that was the most entertaining fight, and then they gave me a copyright strike for Edwards versus Usman 3, and that made that video delayed for 4 days, and now it's not getting any views. So just come back to the channel. I'll post at least 2 fight reactions, definitely for Burns, Masvidal, and Adesanya versus Pereira. Make sure you smash the like button, help me out with the YouTube algorithm, watch my reactions, leave me lots of comments, and of course, last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special, and JDev will return.